Okay, so this is Fjords, and we're gonna run this up a little bit from the other night. This is when we fought PUPEH. The idea is that we line up all of our heavies down, straight ahead here in the around the curve, and then push our heavies through onto them with our light tanks following behind. So you can see here, speed it up a little bit. We're starting to line up, and we're getting into line, into formation. Okay? So then they're spotted as we begin moving forward. So you can see in this one, all of our tanks are in this area. They're coming in here. They're starting to move up. They're leading with AMX 5100s. All right? So then the battle is begun. And you can see as we slam into them, we almost immediately will wipe out 25100s right away. Okay? Now at this point here, you can see our guys are, our lights are forming up back here, our heavies are forming up here. What we're looking for is an opportunity for our light tanks to move through the gap here, move down here along the riverfront, down here, and cap this thing out as quickly as possible. Alright, now as we're moving forward, pause this for a second. We know not all their tanks are here. We can't see them all. They must have a couple up here, and they must have started to send some this direction. What they have right in this area here is about 6 tanks. So we have 9 tanks missing. Alright? In a few minutes, we're going to see a brunt of their forces. The IS-3's coming this way and around the peninsula here. Now stop right there. Between Panzerwoody and Lord Avanti, you see a gap starting to form. Okay? And in that rear area back there where Panzerwoody is, you see 3 light tanks there, and then behind them about 1 square, you see 3 more light tanks sitting in the back there. All right? All of our heavy tanks have moved forward and are beginning to push the enemy guys back into where we need to push them and starting to create that opening. But that is the gap between our heavies and the lights is starting to form. Now, for the first time, we're starting to see IS-3s as they appear on the southern area down there, okay, around the peninsula. And they start shooting our guys there. Now, the thing is, the 3 lights at the rear needed to be in that gap up where Panzerwoody, RSM, and Pet Sounds are at, and ignore the guys to the south. Because their goal here is to move through as soon as possible and exploit the opening, not to sniper or take shots at the opposing forces. Okay? We'll run this a little more. And you can see the opening starting to happen there. Now our tanks in the rear, the 3 lights back there kind of move up, but they're not as far forward as they need to be, and they're not zoning out the IS-3s to the south down there. And when talking about zoning out, what we're saying is zone them out so that they can't shoot you and can't put any fire on you. Fritz is well aware that those tanks are there, but the idea here is to move those lights up as close to the heavies as possible so they can exploit the opening when it occurs. Now you can see as our heavies are pushing through, they're starting to make the opening there occur. You see there's starting to be an opening here. Now we've got at least one heavy out there by himself. He's YOLO'd into the middle there, and we really can't support him. Okay, we got one heavy, myself. I fell down into the water on the left. I was having a hard time getting out. That's the number 18 down there. That's my tank, and there's an enemy tank right there, and I was having a hard time climbing up to help the one tank that was out there that yellowed out by himself. Okay? But you see, the gap is open. There is the gap. That is what we're looking for. That gap right between where Devon is and right between where Hull is. And if our light tanks were up in there, that's the exploitation that we want. That's the place where we want our lights to be so they can rush down to the waterfront and go to their cap. As we move forward on this, I'll turn this a little bit. Now they do come up behind us, okay, and start shooting behind us, but if our furthermost rear light tanks were up about where the Panzer Woody area was and running for that gap, there wouldn't be that many. They wouldn't be able to get that many shots on our guys. Now stopping here, you see that some of our light tanks in the front forward, they're starting to go down and make the run towards the water. Now the yellow heavy tank that went out there to take them on, he's already died. So the only one over there still is RSM. He filled in that gap over there, and he's basically got RU facing off against their WZ and two T-32s. Panzer Woody moves in to help him, and you see where Devon, Pet Sounds, and Tootie are starting to fill in that gap. You can see down south, Fritz is taking on the IS-3 down there. Silent Bob is down there, and so is Avanti. I think at that point there was a command to go back, and that Fritz had said over the comms that he could take that IS-3 and for everyone else to go back and start attacking the middle. And you can see our lights go down to the water and start to take off and start to run as fast as they can towards the cap. Unfortunately, we've lost at least one light in that gap, in that road between the mountain and the lake up there. They can't get through there, and they're having a hard time getting through there because all the dead tanks. That's one reason why my tank fell off the cliff down there, because I couldn't get around the dead tank and I fell into the water. And so now, basically, we've got the middle shut off. They cannot get through there. The alarms are going off as they send somebody to our cap, but we got 3 on their cap. They've got 3 on our cap, and they're running out there to reset us. Tootie, you got to remember that a 1390 ramming a T-32 like that is going to have bad results. And unfortunately, they're getting resets on the guys on our cap. So the thing here is we had one heavy YOLO out there, and he could have stayed back and provided covering fire for the light tanks to slip in behind him down to the water. And once they started going towards their cap to start doing a reset, then we could have been there to stop them and shoot them and do that. Um, the other thing is that big gap between our lights and those heavies. If our lights in the rear, the three lights in the rear, had closed that gap up, then uh, we might have been able to push through that gap and exploit it with the light tanks. Okay, so that's basically what Fritz was trying to get folks to do, and we have a Fjords attack later, and if we're on that side of the map, we may set up and try to do the same thing again, and hope you guys have a better understanding. So thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you on the battlefield.